All right. Well, good morning to everybody and welcome to today's webinar, Potential to Impact, How to Unlock Your Highest Potential Through 5 Growth Principles. Today's webinar is presented by Dr. Adebola Ajao, and I'm Shannon, your host with HBMA. So I'm going to go through a couple of things first, and then we will, before handing it off to Dr. Ajao. HBMA's mission is to provide education advocacy, collaboration, and certification for healthcare billing professionals and providers. We are committed to the development and delivery of the highest quality educational programs. If you need technical support during today's webinar, please go ahead and hit me up in the chat, again at Shannon at HBMA. If you have technical difficulties that keep you from accessing your chat box, go ahead and email me at info@hbma.org, and I will be happy to help you troubleshoot from there. A couple details about today's webinar. Please remain muted for the duration of the webinar. If you think of a question or comment related to the presentation, please type them in the chat box and save them until the end, and we will have a Q&A session scheduled at the end. The recording for this webinar will be available in your My Downloads folder on your hbma.org account within 48 hours from the end of the webinar. However, please ensure that you are logged into your account because you will not be able to access it unless you are. And if you have any questions regarding this webinar or anything else HBMA related, please email me again at info@hbma.org. Thank you all for attending. And we do look forward to seeing you at the Innovation Conference in March at the Atlanta Marriott Buckhead Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, so I'm going to just do a little introduction for Dr. Ajao. Dr. Ajao is the founder, Dr. Ajao is a gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pronounce this. It's pharmacoepidemiologist. Got it. Author, speaker, personal, professional, and leadership development coach. Dr. Ajao received her Doctor of Philosophy in Epidemiology, a master's degree in public health, and a Bachelor of Science in Biology with a minor in psychology. Dr. Ajao has dedicated over 2 decades to protecting public health and a decade to advancing women's health through drug safety research. Dr. Ajao is also the founder of Empowering Initiatives, an organization that empowers professionals to identify their passion, walk in their purpose, maximize their impact, and fulfill their highest potential. Dr. Ajao published her first book, Empowered Woman, in 2021, inspired by her journey to empower and transform ordinary women into extraordinary. She is also the co-author of The Habits Code, a collection of success mindsets, habits, and stories, and Grit and Grace, Women Redefining Leadership, a compelling collection of stories of women who embody the perfect blend of grit, the unwavering perseverance to overcome obstacles, and grace, the poise and empathy that define true leadership. Dr. Ajao has also been featured in multiple national and international magazines, including New York Weekly, Women's Herald, Women's Journal, CEO Weekly, Reader's House Magazine, and Entrepreneur Prime. Through her speaking, workshops, and coaching programs, Dr. Ajao teaches her 5 growth principles: thinking big, conquering your fears, seeking and acquiring knowledge, finding mentors, and acting and following through as practical, easy to adopt tools to equip and elevate professionals to their next level. And having said that, I give you Dr. Ajao.
Thank you so much, Sharon, for that kind introduction. I'm going to see if I can share my screen, and please let me know when you can see it. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it right now.
Okay, perfect. All right, let me minimize myself. And hopefully it wouldn't skip along. It was skipping along earlier, but I have control of it, so I'll move it. Thank you so much, Shannon, for that introduction. And thank you, everyone, for joining me this afternoon. I'm delighted to be here. And I'm going to be spending the next 50 or so minutes with you speaking about potential to impact how to unlock your highest potential through 5 growth principles. I can advance my slides. Okay, perfect. My objectives today is really to share with you some personal, professional, and leadership development strategies for success. I hope that I can show you some practical ways to develop, maximize your unique gifts, talents, and skills, and some actionable ways to effectively utilize some specific growth principles that Shannon just described, and I also have in my book, Empowered Women. So my belief is that as professionals, we are really built for impact, but many professionals are stagnant, stuck, and unfulfilled because we do not identify our unique set of gifts, talents, skills, and we do not develop them into strengths and then align them with our career and our professional roles. I believe that it is in mastering our strengths that we thrive and maximize our potential and impact in our professional careers. So I know Shannon has said a lot about me in my bio, but I really do want to just kind of share some of my backstory with you. As Shannon mentioned, I'm a pharmacoepidemiologist, and I've been a public health expert for over 20 years. I've been in public health for over 20 years and specifically in clinical research. 10 of those 20 years have been in drug safety research and regulatory science. And my areas of expertise is in infectious diseases, women's health, and health policy. However, many years ago, after I completed my doctoral degree, actually over 10 years now, and I was looking for that dream job to practice what I'd gone to school, what I trained to do. And I was looking to practice epidemiology in a large public health agency, which I did get opportunity to get that dream job. But fast forward about 7 years into that journey, I started to feel stagnant and I started to feel stuck. And as I spoke to other professionals, I had a lot of professionals around me that are, very highly educated. And I saw that this was a common theme where people, professionals like us, sometimes work become more of a routine where we go to work and we come home and we get paid, but we forget why we started to do what we're doing in the first place, regardless of how long we've been trained to do it. So in my case, I felt stuck. I felt stagnant. I felt like I wasn't moving forward. And this was a weird phenomenon, considering I was in public health and I was in public service. How can I possibly feel stuck and unfulfilled in this job that I've been trained to do for so many years? So this is when I went on my personal development journey. In addition to that, I stretched, I took on more projects and I just burnt out doing that. And I realized that there had to be a different way of doing this. So what I did was I started to read books and I started to go on, I got coaches and I started on my personal development journey. Now, the beauty of personal development is that it permeates into all the different aspects of your life. So, professionally, I started to see advancement because I started to practice certain skills, which I'm going to share some of those with you today. And in that journey, I have grown a lot. And part of what I've come to be in my personal development journey is also that I founded my organization, Empowering Initiatives. I, authored my book, co-authored a few more books, and I speak and coach on these principles that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So what lesson did I learn in that period of time when I felt stuck and stagnant in my professional career, considering I've gone to school all these years, right, to get to this stage? What I learned through this journey is that period of being stuck is actually not a bad thing. It is our internal compass to pause, right, to reflect, and to take stocks of where we are, take stocks of our gifts, our talents, our values, determine where we are and where we want to go, and then assess the gap, and then set goals to fill that gap in order for us to pivot to our next level. So that period of feeling stuck, I don't know if any of you have ever felt that. And if you have, you can put stuck in the chat so I can see if anybody has ever experienced that feeling where you kind of feel like you're going to work every day and it's become a routine and you don't really feel like you're aligning with what you intended to when you started that profession, where you intended to be, the kind of fulfillment you were looking for. If you've ever felt that, just put stuck in the chat. But I definitely was there, and I spoke to a lot of professionals in my professional space that, highly educated, that were also feeling the same way. But what I'm speaking about and what I'm encourage folks to do and professionals to do is that typically that's a time where we've reached a plateau in whatever we're doing. And it's usually a time for us to pivot in a new direction of growth. So today I'm going to walk you through 5 strategies that I teach for personal professional leadership development. These are the 5 strategies that I'm showing on the screen, and I'm not going to go through them all now because I'm going to walk you through them as we go. But it certainly starts with deciding and prioritizing to live on purpose. So I'll move on to the next slides as we're going to go through each of these strategies one at a time. So the first one is deciding and prioritizing to live on purpose. I believe that every success story starts with a decision to live on purpose. Every goal that we have, okay, the slide skipped, but I'll go back. Every goal that we have starts, every goal that we ever achieve in life starts with a decision to live on purpose, to make decision to start to go on that pathway. So purpose really, this is one definition of purpose that I really love, and I really teach, is that purpose is at the intersection of our passion and service. Now, what does that mean? It means that purpose is understanding who we are, our gifts, talents, skills, strengths, and how do we use it to serve others. And I think it's in following our passion that we do get to our purpose. So I'll speak a little bit more about purpose in the next few slides. And I think as professionals, we need to start to think about how does our professional roles, how does our role in our organization, how does it align with our own personal mission? And how does it align with our organization's mission? I think in order for us to be fulfilled in our careers, we really need to define what our purpose is as a professional, what are our goals, and how does that align with the mission of the organization that we work in. So there's a survey in 2019 by Edward Eltmans. It was a health survey that reported that only about 25% of American adults have a clear sense of their purpose. This is a pretty low proportion. That's a quarter of American adults, which shows that this is a big challenge. This whole idea of living on purpose is a big challenge. And it's clear that a lot of people don't give a lot of thoughts into why they're doing what they're doing in their roles, how their roles fit with their personal mission, and how they are harnessing all of their gifts and talents to serve the organization in which they work. Another survey by Gallup in 2023 showed that only about 33% of US employees were engaged in their jobs. I think there are many reasons why people may not be engaged in their jobs. I think there are external reasons and there are internal reasons. I would focus more on internal reasons. But for external reasons, certainly, some work environments are toxic. Some work environments do not reward their employees, or maybe it's stifling and it's not innovative, or they don't allow innovation. But beyond the external reasons, I do believe that there's so many internal reasons why people are not engaged in their job. It may be that they're not enjoying that job anymore. They don't feel like this job is aligning, it's fulfilling them. All of this are really due to the fact that most professionals have not really defined what their purpose is. So you may ask, why purpose, right? Why is this important? And it's a very abstract term. I think the word purpose sometimes is overused and underexplained. But like I said earlier, it is at the intersection of our gifts or our passion and our skills and how we use them to serve. But once we start to live in our purpose, there's so many things that start to happen for us as individuals. And also all of this has a ripple effect into the work that we do in our organization. So living on purpose helps us to, define our focus and increase our focus so as to drive excellence in the things that we do. It helps to increase our confidence, our satisfaction with our jobs, our happiness as professionals. It really allows us to maximize our potential, find meaning and fulfillment in the work that we do, help improve the quality of our lives, and creates meaningful change. It allows us to create meaningful change and maximize our impact, and ultimately drive client success and satisfaction. So on to the next strategy. Once we decide that we want to live on purpose and we start to prioritize purpose, then we can start to think about how do we identify, develop, master, and maximize our strengths. So that's the second part of the definition of purpose. When we follow our passion, we get to our purpose. So pretty much for this, it's the people that maximize their potential the most, or the most successful people in life, are people who really are in tune with who they are. And passion is about who we are, and who we are is already in us. It is really about discovering, what our gifts are, what our talents are, what our skills are, what experiences make us unique. And it's in discovering all of this that we really are able to not only develop, but master and really maximize our strengths as professionals in the professional work that we do, and in really serving the mission of our organization. So here I list a bunch of strengths that some of you may identify with. The ones that I identify with a lot of strengths on this screen, and the ones that I bolded are the ones that, were my top 5 strengths when I did the Gallup survey. And there are a lot of surveys out there where you can use to identify your strengths. But simply, we can start from asking ourselves a few questions. We can start asking ourselves questions like, what are we good at? What do we do really well? What do people say about us? What adjectives do people use to describe us? Are you somebody who's ambitious? Are you somebody who's logical? Are you somebody who is a leader? Are you dynamic? Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? And, all of these strengths, I think they are really important for us to fully understand which ones of these strengths we identify. Again, this is just a sample. There's so many other ones out there. A lot of them are not easily recognized, so we have to do some self-assessment work to really understand, to really begin to, identify our strengths, then get to the step of developing it. So you can put in the chat if there are any of these strengths you identify with, or maybe your top 5 strengths on this list that you identify with. And if you have other ones that you've found out in yourself and are not on this list, please, by all means, also put them in the chart. I think the key of this exercise is to really begin to understand who we are and what strengths do we bring to our positions, what strengths do we bring to our organization, and how are we uniquely placed? How are we uniquely positioned to fulfill our personal mission and our organization's mission? So just throw in the chart something. Sorry, this is skipping along, but I'll go back. Just throw in the chat if there are any of these strengths that you identify with. For me, like I said, when I did the Gallup Strength Finder, the ones that are in bold are the ones that my top 5. And my top 5 are really aligned with my strategic and my executive functioning or strengths, and my relationship building strengths, which are very much aligned with my leadership pathway. So beyond identifying our strengths, which is kind of at the bottom of this list on the slide, this is in the realm of awareness. Okay, so this is the kind of person that I am. Maybe you're analytical, or are you somebody that likes to work individually versus working on teams? as you identify who you are, you discover who you are, then there's the desire, then there has to be that desire to develop those skill sets even further. And being able to identify ways to develop and master your skills, I think are extremely important. Finding the knowledge that you need, maybe trainings. For example, if you are an individual contributor and you enjoy working in teams, you enjoy working with people, and you think leadership is kind of the pathway that you want to go, it makes sense to start taking some leadership trainings. It makes sense to start maybe volunteering for projects where you get to lead the team versus just be an individual contributor, because you have to start to practice those skills. You have to start to practice the skills that you see that are innately unique to you, that are your strengths, in order to really turn it into a habit and ultimately become successful at it. So this step of mastering and maximizing our strengths, I think there's a saying that says it takes like 10,000 hours of continuously practicing a skill to master that skill. It's a continuous process, and it's a deliberate process, and it's a very intentional process. So why maximize our strengths? There's definitely a lot of data out there. I really like this one from Gallup that showed that people who focus on their strengths are 6 times more likely to be engaged in their jobs. They're 6 more likely to agree that they have they're 6 more times more likely to agree that they have the chance to do what they do best every day. So that means they're happy doing their work. And they're 3 times more likely to report an excellent quality of life. So it really should not be underestimated how important it is that we not only identify our skills, strengths, gifts, talents, but we also maximize them. I think people that reach their highest potential in life, people that are most successful, are those that do maximize their strengths. So how does this relate to team development? I think it's pretty similar, even though we've talked about kind of on an individual level. I think as far as teams concerns, members of our team possess a unique combination of strengths, and people are motivated to do what they do best. People are motivated to do what they enjoy. And so in developing and leveraging each member's unique strengths, that is really where we maximize a team's the strength of the team and in moving our organization's mission forward, whether it's the team's mission or the organization's mission. And, having this kind of mindset of developing the strengths within our team, we get to build teams with a diverse strengths and expertise, which ultimately allows us to efficiently accomplish our organization's mission. So on to the third part of this definition of purpose, which is service. Service is really about how we serve others with the gifts that we have, with the talents and the skills and our experience. And it's about the impact and the value that we create in the work that we do. So I think it's important here to really break down that service and to understand that if we're not serving someone with our gifts, we're really not. There's no way we can live in our purpose. And there's no way we can feel fulfilled in the work that we do, especially if we're not in touch with the people that we're serving. And I like to tell the story of earlier on when I was earlier on in my public health career, when I was in clinical research, and it took me back actually to my home country, Nigeria. And this was back in the era of the PEPFAR days, the HIV pandemic, when that started in the early 2000s. And I went back to Nigeria and I was part of the PEPFAR program, and we were building HIV testing capacity in Nigeria, and also HIV treatments. And so, me and my team would go out and we would, test people for the rapid HIV test, and we will give them those results back, cancel them right on the spot, and then refer those that are positive to treatment at the tertiary care centers. And it was such a fulfilling job for me. It was such a fulfilling role for me. And it was because I was in touch with the people that I was serving. The people that I was serving were there every day. I saw their faces, I saw their feelings, I saw their emotions, I saw their gratitude, and I felt fulfilled on a daily basis. Now contrast that to not working in a federal organization, huge public health agency where a lot of times we don't get to be in touch with the people that we serve. Sometimes it's hard to feel your impact. Sometimes it's hard to really know if you're making a difference. And I think that part of the lesson that I'm learning in all of this is really important as an organization to really be in touch with the people that we serve, to get feedback about her service, and to really figure out how we can serve them better, how we can have a bigger impact with her service. So service, I think, is a very important component of purpose, and ultimately is about the impact and the value that we create. So at this junction, I want us to think about everything that I just downloaded and think about how your gifts, your talents, your unique skills, whether you're analytical, whether you're a leader, whether you like to work as a team, whether you're a people person, how have you used all of those gifts in your professional space? And who are you serving with those gifts in your professional capacity? And I think it's important as professionals that we really develop what I call the professional mission statement. And that mission statement encompasses, what do you want to contribute? And what impact do you want to have? And ultimately, it has to connect back to your why. Why are you in the role that you're in? Why are you in the role that you're currently in? What motivates you about the role that you're in? What are you contributing? What impact do you have? And why are you doing what you're doing in your professional space? So I'm going to give us some moments, can capture the screen, and we may not be able to do this exercise now, but just as we reflect back later, maybe when you're in your own space, or maybe later when you get home, think about this. Think about, in my professional space, what do I want to contribute? What impact do I want to have? And what motivates me to do what I do? I'll just give you an example. This is my professional mission statement. I'm in a leadership role in my organization, and I really truly believe that my mission is to serve as a strategic leader by encouraging innovative and forward-thinking ideas so that my team can protect public health and advance patient safety through effective drug safety research and regulation. This mission is not only aligned with my organization's mission, but it's also aligned with my personal mission, my goal in public health, my goal in patient safety, my goal as an epidemiologist in drug safety research, and my goal as a leader. This is my organization's mission statement. As I told you earlier on, I'm also the founder of Empowering Initiatives. And that was really born out of the challenge that I went through, as I talked to you earlier when I was telling you my story, in how I felt stuck and stagnant, even though I was in public health and in public service. And I wanted to empower and incubate other professionals to also find their passion, to also walk in their purpose, so that they can maximize their potential, impact, and legacy through personal, professional, and leadership development. And of course, through serving their gifts to humanity. So this is the mission statement of my organization. The one that I showed you prior is my professional mission statement in the work that I do every day as a scientist and as an epidemiologist. So the third strategy is about shifting your mindset, because all of this boils down to having a growth mindset. As we think about our gifts, as we think about how we want it to serve, and as how we want to use it to serve, and how we want to combine all of that to make sure that we are living in our purpose every day in our professional life, we have to think differently. We have to shift our mindset. And ultimately, we have to move into a growth mindset. And I love this quote, particularly by Sylvester McNaught, that talks about everything starts with your mindset first, and then your actions second, because our actions follow our thoughts, our beliefs, and ideas. And to make a shift, to free our energy, we have to start with getting our mind right, and then we can take action. So mindset is a very important part of the success strategy, either personally or professionally. And that journey is about growth. The professional development journey is about growth. It's about growth, shifting from a fixed mindset to shifting to a growth mindset. And this picture on the slide depicts, a growth mindset to the left in green and a fixed mindset to the right in orange. And just shifting from a fixed mindset of just to speak a little bit about what that looks like. Some individuals with fixed mindset usually think that, they can't make any mistakes, and they think the work they're doing is good enough. They don't think there's room for improvement. They usually give up when things get challenging, and, they think they know best. While individuals with growth mindset really think infinitely. They think of growth as infinite, and they think that mistakes make them learn. So I can make mistakes along the way. I'm going to embrace the challenge. I'm going to improve with practice. I welcome feedback because feedback is valuable to my growth. And I always assess, is this my best work? Am I doing my best work? And we never give up. Individuals with growth mindset never give up. And growth mindset is really an infinite mindset. And it's that idea that growth is continuous, growth is intentional, growth is disciplined, and growth takes perseverance. So in shifting our mindset from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, that's why I introduced my 5 growth principles. And I think Shannon mentioned it earlier. The first one is think big. A lot of this concept seem really abstract. So I've taken the time to really boil it down into what does it really mean when it says we should think big about our goals. We should think big about where we want to be as a professional. I think it's a lot about creating a vision for ourselves in our professional space. What is it we're trying to achieve? We can talk about 10-year vision, we can talk about 5-year vision, or we can just talk about 1-year vision. Sometimes I like to start with a 1-year plan. What is my 1-year vision in my profession? What am I trying to achieve in 1 year as a professional? And then I start to visualize those goals. Okay, I want to be a team leader, or I want to be a division director, whatever your goals are in your professional space. Or maybe it's I need to get that certification, or maybe it's I need to publish 5 papers. I don't know. Everybody's in a different professional space. Whatever your goals are, create them, create that vision, visualize it, start to see yourself in that future state, and then document it, whether you're documenting it in a vision board or in a journal. I like to use journal. I have a journal that I use at the beginning of every year. I write down my goals for the next year. And this is a perfect time for that, actually, right? It's end of the year. The year is coming to an end, and we're looking to 2025. I've already setting my goals for 2025. What do I want to achieve in 2025? So I document that. And research shows that people that document their goals are actually 42 times more likely to achieve them. And documenting helps to hatch these goals in our memory. It keeps us accountable to our goals. And it really allows us, and it helps us to shift our belief system to believe that we can actually achieve these goals. And I think it's important in this whole concept of thinking big to really change our circle of influence, because they said we are the average of the 5 people we hang around with. I think it's really important to start to hang around people that are doing the things that you want to do. So whatever goals you have, if you have someone at your job for example, I remember in earlier days in my career in this organization that I'm in, one of my goals as a research scientist is to publish more papers. And so I look around me and I say, who's publishing papers? And I become friends with those people, because once I become friends with them, guess what? We start to collaborate. And, in a certain amount of years, I get to have this number of papers, which is the goal that I set for myself. So changing your circle of influence is really important. We're going to talk about that a little bit further down in this presentation. So the second principle in shifting our mindset to that growth mindset is about conquering our fears. I know you all know about fears, because I know about fears for sure. Every big goal that we want to embark on comes with a set of fears, whether we're fearful of taking risk, or whether we're fearful of failing if we take that risk, or whether we're fearful of being overwhelmed. I know sometimes I'm fearful of being overwhelmed. Sometimes I pause from taking on multiple roles or multiple tasks at the same time because I'm afraid that I'm going to get overwhelmed, because I'm also a mother of 3. So I'm sure some of you can appreciate that and relate to that. So I think it's important to commit to our goals because this fear is always going to be there, but it's in stepping into our fears that we really conquer them. And so I think it's important to commit to our goals and embrace challenges that it's not going to be an easy path. It's not going to be easy, but we're ready to step into and we're ready to take the challenge and we're ready to make the mistakes and we're ready to learn from our mistakes so that we can't get to that place where we do reach our goals. So we have to identify and confront those fears. And I think a lot of this about conquering fears is also about how we shift the way we speak to ourselves. You know, a lot of us have those negative self-talk in our head and say, I can't do this and I can't do that. Now we need to shift from I can't to I can, right? And start to have some positive self-talk and affirmations. Affirm yourself, that you're courageous, that you're worthy, and that these goals are achievable for you. Start to affirm yourself and then focus on the process. Because I think a lot of times we're overwhelmed by, this big goals. I want to achieve this. Oh my God, how am I going to get there? So many steps, so many trainings. But if we focus on the process and we celebrate every effort that we make, I think it goes a long way in conquering the fears that we have in achieving the goals that we set for ourselves in our professional space. So the fourth strategy is to take action. I think this is such an important strategy because a lot of people talk about what they want to do, but they never do it. When I wrote my book, people ask me, Adebola, how did you write your book? And I say, whatever you focus on grows, like they say, whatever you focus on grows. So it's really about taking consistent small steps. But before I get to that consistent small steps, which is actually what's on the next slide, I think setting SMART goals is very important. So as we think about 2025, I think it's important for us as we write down our goals to make sure they're specific. What do you want to achieve by this time next year in your professional space? Is it measurable? Are you going to be able to tell when you actually achieve it? And is it attainable? And is it relevant to what you're trying to do in your profession, as in your career? And does it have a time? It's like I said, a year from now. There has to be a timeline to it. It has to be something you can check off at the end of that timeline. So writing down your goals is absolutely imperative. Your goals cannot live in your head. They have to be written down somewhere. And then if you have multiple goals, we can certainly prioritize them. Sometimes when you're trying to work on multiple things at the same time, then nothing gets done. So I think it's important to prioritize your goals and see, which goal is going to have the most significant in my career, which goal is going to have the most impact in my career. Let's focus on that big goal. And then let's develop a stepwise plan with timelines. So what am I going to do every month towards this goal? Is it a training that I have to go through every month? Is it, whatever it is that you have to do in a stepwise plan with a timeline, and then create a routine, a daily routine to do a little bit at a time towards that goal. Because ultimately, goals don't get accomplished by big, massive steps. It gets accomplished by little consistent steps. And then track your progress. If you have a plan and you have time, and track your progress and stay accountable. Have an accountability partner. Maybe it's another peer on your team. Maybe it's your team leader. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's a partner. Whatever. Find someone that you share these goals with so someone can keep you accountable. I do have an accountability partner that I talk to once a month. We share our goals and we talk about, what we're doing towards those goals. So I think that's really important because most folks actually would not do what they said they're going to do because there's nobody checking, right? Nobody's checking. Then why do I have to do it? So the last strategy actually includes the last two principles, which is find knowledge and find mentors, peers, and community. So I'll do the knowledge first, and then we'll go to the mentors, peers, and community. So, there's that saying of knowledge is power, but I really do believe that actionable knowledge is power. So you're only powerful when you take action on the knowledge that you have. So if you just have knowledge and you don't do anything about it, you're not powerful because you're not moving anything forward. You're not moving your goals forward. So I think it's important that we match our knowledge and take action with it in order for us to achieve our goals. And again, if we think about how much it's going to take to achieve some of these goals, it's daunting. So I always tell folks to start from where you are. Start from where you are, take that small, consistent steps, but commit to continuous learning, commit to continuous growth. and continuously seek the new knowledge that it's going to take to achieve the goal that you've set out for yourself in your personal professional space. Find mentors, peers, and community. This is so important because I do believe that mentors, peers, and community are part of our support system. And so it's important for us to have mentors, which are people that have done the things that we want to do, people that have achieved the goals that we are trying to achieve. They're there to advise us, they're there to guide us, coach us, advocate for us in rooms that we're not in, like sponsor us, refer us, and really build us up, and so that we can see. And if we show some of the obstacles and some of the challenges that went through, maybe we don't have to make the same mistakes that they've made. And then the peers are there for support, motivation, and accountability. Your peers are the people on your level that are doing exactly what you are trying to do, that have similar goals as you. I think our peers give us support, they motivate us, and they surely keep us accountable. Those could be other team members for you, or it could just be, other professionals that are other friends of yours that are professionals. And then for community, I think that's the larger community for you. For some of us, it could be our team, it could be our division, it could be our organization, it could even be a professional organization where we get to collaborate with other peers that have similar goals as us. And this allows us to, continue to grow. And some of these communities give us visibility, right? Visibility for presentations, for whatever it is that we're trying to achieve. So I think this mentors, peers, and community is kind of like, I put you in the middle of this three, because this is your professional support system. I think it's important that we tap into this and we make sure that we are nurturing these relationships. So in summary, I think what I've been able to do today is to give you those 5 strategies for professional success. And which, of course, those strategies start with living on purpose, making a decision to live on purpose. And as define purpose as passion plus service, which pretty much means using all your gifts, all your talents, all your strengths, all your experiences to serve somebody. So who are you and who are you serving? And how are you living in your purpose? And how is your purpose aligned with your organization mission? And how is it aligned with the role that you're in right now in your organization? Are you aligned or are you not aligned? And I think all of this cumulatively allows you to write a professional mission statement to understand what do you want to contribute and what impact do you want to have in your current professional space and in your organization. And I think this gives you a foundation for, for building that goal that you want to have, for creating that goal you want to have, and to shift into that growth mindset. I think it's important to actualize the 5 growth principles that I talked about. And you're thinking big about your goals, what you want to achieve in your professional space, conquering whatever fears that are attached to those goals, because you're going to step into it and do it. You're going to do it afraid anyway. And we're going to take actions, and we're going to write down those goals. We're going to break it down with timelines, and we're going to keep ourselves accountable with taking consistent steps. We're going to find the knowledge that we need to keep moving ourselves forward, of course, starting from where we are. And of course, we're going to nurture and build that support system of mentors and peers and community to keep us moving forward in our goals. So that's really is the end of my presentation. And I have this exercise because I think it's important that we, practice everything we just heard. And I think it's important that we identify some goals that we have for next year. So if you have a paper and a pen, just based on everything you've heard, everything I've talked about today, first of all, I would like for you to put in the chat, like, what was your main takeaway? What did you learn from this last 40 minutes that I've been with you? What was your main takeaway, or what was your pain point? Was there any pain point that you felt like I addressed in this presentation? And then, if you have a paper and a pen, or maybe a computer, whatever you have in front of you, you can write your top 3 professional goals for 2025. And then you can rank them. Like I said, if you have multiple goals, sometimes we have too many goals and then we don't accomplish any of it. So I think it's important. I've learned in my professional journey to take sometimes one goal at a time and tackle one goal at a time. So rank those 3 goals that you have into importance, significance, and urgency. Whichever one is the most important to you, whichever one you think is going to have the most significant impact in your professional journey, I think that's the one you should circle. That's the one we should work on for 2025. And then you can turn that paper around and just write, what is my biggest fear? What is going to stop me from achieving this goal? I think it's important to acknowledge our fears. They are real. Those fears are real. But guess what? Once we start to step into them, they disappear. They literally disappear. So I think it's important to acknowledge the fear and to say, okay, I see you, it's there, but I'm going to do this anyway. I'm going to step into this goal anyway. I'm going to work on this goal anyway. And then make a list of the steps that you need to take to get to this goal by this time next year. Attach timelines to what am I going to do in January, what I'm going to do in February, in March, in April, in May, in June, towards this professional goal. And then, of course, tell someone about it. Find an accountability partner, someone that can support you, someone that can keep you accountable, somebody that can check up on you and see if you are actually making progress towards this goal. So I know that was a lot, and I know you were not really prepared for this, but, just take a screenshot of this if you were not able to actually complete this task right now. But think about this, reflect on this for the rest of this year and really work on it and actualize it. Because once you do this for one goal, guess what? It's repeat. It's on repeat. You just keep repeating it for the next goal and the next goal and the next goal and the next goal. And I think this is important practice for continuing to move to our next level in a professional space so that we get out of that space we're stuck and stagnant and feeling like we're not thriving in our professions. I think once we understand that in a professional space, we have to set goals for ourselves, and we have to make sure that our goals align with our personal mission statement, the one that we wrote earlier, and with our organization's mission. I think that we start to experience a different kind of life. Our life becomes more energetic. We start to enjoy the work that we do. We start to appreciate, the impact that we're having. And I think all of this ultimately leads to fulfillment and happiness and success. I believe that's the end of my presentation. I have some additional resources here that are strength finders. We talked about finding your strengths. There's a lot of strength finders out there that you can use to do that. And here is my information to stay in touch with me. Of course, your feedback is very valuable. So if you can scan that code on here, it will take you to a portal that you can just tell me if you felt like this presentation was informative to you, if you learned something from it, if there's any feedback you want to give me, I'm happy to hear. I can continue to improve so I can continue to provide more value to you and anybody else that I provide this presentation to in the future. So Sharon, I'll pause there, I'll stop there, and then I will give it back to you and for any questions that anybody may have. Thank you.
Okay, well, that was a wonderful presentation. Let's see if we have any questions. I didn't see any in the chat, but I'm just checking again real fast in case I missed one. Or I think this would be a good time for anyone if they want to come off. Yes, I don't see any in the chat, but if anyone would like to come off of mute and ask questions or make comments, this would be a good time to do that as well. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay. I'm not hearing any, so I'm gonna go ahead and assume that anybody who wants to ask them can ask them, and also they can follow up, of course, with Dr. Zhao on her website or email here. I hope that you've all taken the time to scan and screenshot this information. Thank you everyone for attending today's webinar, and thank you to Dr. Zhao for a lovely presentation. We really appreciate you and thank you for contributing to the education of HBMA and its members.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, wonderful. Well, you guys all have a wonderful rest of your week and happy holidays to all of you.
Thank you. You as well. Bye.
Thank you.